How's it going, everybody? Travis here, and I'm actually doing the intro. Whoa, crazy. So we did one of these videos before with the game breakdown, and I'm here with three lovely other people. Who are you?
Oh, Mike.
Nick.
And CJ.
Cool. So we were trying to dig real deep into what game we have all experienced. And we found that there's literally one and only one, and that is Outlast. And if anyone remembers way back when we did our top 5 games, Outlast is one of my favorite games. And if anyone knows Nick, he hates it. So this will be fun.
It makes me have unexplained bowel movements. I'll leave it at that.
It did.
I shit myself while watching it.
That did happen during Resident Evil
Like,
7, I remember.
Also,
It literally scares the shit out of me. That's the best way I can say it. And luckily, I'm not alone. I'm not going to be bombarded with being shit on about not liking horror games, because CJ is here.
Yeah, I also hate horror games. I only played Outlast because Travis forced me to, and I refused to play the second one.
You did beat Whistleblower,
Like, literally,
though,
like...
so...
Yeah, but I got Travis's back here, though.
Thanks, Mike.
But anyway, Travis, what are we going to focus on in this game
so the
breakdown?
things that we focused on last time were the story, gameplay, music, and graphics. So let's start with the story, because I think everyone here will probably be in agreement. The story in the first one is rather lacking. You're an investigative reporter. Yeah. You go into a spooky house, and and we're not even going to talk about the ending and how dumb it is.
I love
it. Wasn't
the
that
ending.
bad of an.
You would like the ending.
It wasn't that bad of an ending.
Why
It's like,
did you like the ending?
It's like sweet release from like the hell that you just went through.
Yeah, right. But if you literally escaped, it would still be a sweet release. Only all of the times you died during the game would have actually been like, oh, it's a good thing I actually lived, instead of, I don't know, still dying, so it's not even...
So, are you saying that you would rather have had a happy ending, Travis?
Not happy ending.
Is that what you're...
just at least make me feel like me going through all of that hell, I can at least still get out. Like, he'd even make it out of the building. He just got shot down immediately in the hallway.
I know, by
like,
the guys you saw
give
would be
him
the
like
victims.
that, oh, you made it!
It's funny,
and then,
too.
Bam!
Because the first time you see a gun, it kills you. I love it.
How poetic.
Yeah.
Somebody should make that on, like, they should knit that on a throw pillow. I think that needs to be something that everybody needs to see. The first thing you see when you're walking into a new house. The first gun you see,
gun, or
and it kills you. I don't know. I mean, I didn't mind the story that much. Like, I was watching your guys' playthrough as you guys were playing Outlast for the race video. I didn't think it was bad, but at the same time, it's like
it's just there's not much
like
there.
Yeah, it's not that it's bad. It's
there's a lot
non-existent is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a lot of, you can be like a lot more creative with those, at least playing those kinds of or creating a story with it. I am with you, they didn't do a ton with it, but then again, I don't know what constitutes a great horror story when it comes down to them, because my horror game experience is minimal.
I'll refer to Resident Evil for horror being still a good story.
Resident Evil 7?
That's the one that specifically comes to my mind, but I am not nearly as familiar with Resident Evil as Mike is.
Yeah, well, because I will say...
I did like Resident Evil's story. Resident Evil 7 had a really good story.
Yeah, well, it's because that one is more psychological, too, where they sort of go in depth with, like, what's going on. With Outlast, they do give you some backstory, but you can tell, like, when Red Barrels made this game, their goal was, let's have a lot of jump scares, you know? Let's put them on sort of like a roller coaster where they're constantly getting chased, constantly getting attacked, with loud music that scares you, which is all things we're probably going to be talking about more later.
Definitely.
So they obviously didn't really care to have, like, this story, because that's not the point of the game. With Resident Evil, the whole fear in that game is the environment you're in. You know, you're supposed to feel helpless with, like, a virus and stuff. Outlast, it's more about the experience and less about the story. So even though the story is non-existent, I think that's the point. I don't think whether or not it having a story really matters. It's like saying Mario's story is bad. The point of Mario is not the story, it's the platforming. In that same way, I think Outlast, the point isn't the story, it's the gameplay,
Right. Which is why, even though
Yeah.
I say that the story is rather lacking, it still made my top 5 because I love the gameplay and all the other things.
Yeah, it did enough.
I will say this though. I will say though, you do need to have a strong enough story to keep people interested, because you saw with No Man's Sky, and if even like you can have like not the best gameplay, but if you have a good story, people will, like, depending on the player, they'll still keep playing. And with No Man's Sky, there wasn't enough of an incentive to keep going. At least in Outlast, there is still an incentive that drives you along with the gameplay itself. There's still a reason why you keep playing and you carry along with it. But I guess you say it's lacking, but it's still enough for the player to experience, like, and actually go through the actual game
I agree,
itself.
'cause,
so it's still enough.
Yeah, because, like, as you're going through the game, you're at least still being introduced to some new characters. I know in the first one, they focus a lot on Christopher as being the main villain, because I feel like it was always like, here's this villain, here's Christopher again. Here's this villain, Christopher again. But you at least, like, still got to experience, like, the Doctor and I always forget the baseball bat.
The Dingling
dude.
brothers.
Yeah, Dingling boys. Yeah, they're.
Yep.
So I feel like the story was kind of more like, ugh, who are these people and how are they going to be creepy as hell to me? Because the Doctor, I think, is definitely like one of the most terrifying characters in any of the games, just because, ugh.
Darling.
No, make
I
it
know
stop.
Travis hates him the most.
He tries to cut your dick off, and
Yeah, he's
No,
a bad.
thank
But does he succeed?
He has a nice butt though.
he does have a nose.
We can't deny that.
Bad ass.
That's just a silver lining right there. It's just like he might have tried to cut my dick off, but he's got a nice ass,
As long as you still
it's like-
gently
it's
caresses
potato,
it, I
potato.
can get it on board.
All right. Well, either
Okay,
way.
so
Well,
moving on from the story and onto the gameplay, which we've kind of touched a little bit. I think the gameplay is amazing in it because I know CJ will definitely disagree with my point I'm about to make, but I love the fact that I have nothing to defend myself with. That is why I'm scared while playing this game versus... Because even while I was playing, like, Resident Evil 7, I was never really, like, scared while playing it. Definitely points of it I thought were creepy, and that's just because it was more of a psychological horror versus anything else. Mm-hmm. But, like, not being able to even punch the enemies that came near me made me really want to keep going and having fun with it. And CJ, what is your point of view on not having a gun or anything?
I hated it. All I wanted to do was not even a gun, just like a punch or like some kind of hit button where I could run up to Christopher and just punch him in the face. Even if I died right after, I wouldn't care because at least I got that punch out. But speaking of gameplay and just mechanics in general, I was horrible at jumping over obstacles during the game. I watched our replay of it, and I just was cringing at myself for not being able to like jump over things and like escape Christopher or somebody.
Yeah, you definitely struggled at some areas.
I will say
it's okay, CJ. I probably would have done worse.
it is hard when you're like in that desperate situation just running away. It is hard to be like, you know what? I got to make sure I'm right at this point to make the jump. That's not what you're thinking about. You're like, screw it. I got to do this. I'm just going to go for it and spam the button.
Yeah,
but
it is so much scarier being in control versus just watching them.
Oh,
and that extra fear makes you do a lot of stupid things that you wish you wouldn't. Like accidentally reloading a fresh battery.
Right. That happens a lot.
It does happen a lot.
But I think that's to the point you made earlier, Travis, about like this compared to Resident Evil. Is like Resident Evil is a lot more mellow. You have a weapon. It's more that despair feeling. This game is the exact opposite kind of horror, where this is the type of game that just absolutely freaks you out in the moment. This game wants you to scream, you know? It wants you to scream, get your heart rate up, and get you running away. And this game does it, I would say, better than any horror game I've ever played. It pretty much nails that to the T. this Outlast 2, I'm sure we'll do something with that one eventually. That one had smarter AI. So that's why I think the only problem with Outlast is on second and third playthroughs, and I know me and Travis can both say this because we've done a race, it's not really that scary anymore.
No.
Because you kind of already know what the characters are going to do. You know the path that Christopher walks and stuff. So for a first playthrough, this game is absolutely perfect. The fear does go down in second playthroughs, but it is always fun to watch someone else play it. Like, I did enjoy...
So fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed Matt playing it. I enjoyed watching CJ on the streams. Every time you watch someone play it for the first time, it's so funny.
It's great.
I mean, I remember even getting scared at like the cutscenes because they just happen at the most random times, and I'm like just running, and all of a sudden like black screen.
Yeah, you literally got scared on the loading screens, and it was so funny.
It's the worst.
You're like, oh god, oh no, it's good, it's fine, everything's fine.
You're always on edge, you know?
The entire time, because as far as you know, another person is just around the corner, whereas after you beat it once, you know exactly when the jump scares are going to happen, so you're literally just sprinting the entire time. And even CJ recognized that for Whistleblower. You were sprinting so much more in Whistleblower than you were in Outlast.
Because it was almost like a second playthrough. Like, I realized what I could do, what I couldn't do, and I just ran at that point.
Yeah. Well, because then the other thing, too, with the hiding is, like, at first you're like, oh, I hope they don't find me, but then you kind of realize they never really do find you. Especially in like the normal difficulty, you're like, well, if I'm in this locker, they're pretty much always going to search the locker next to you. I think that's why, like on the first playthrough, when you don't know that and you see them snooping, you're like, please don't find me, please don't find me.
Yep.
Because you never know. The second game again does that a lot better because the second game they do find you.
Oh my
god, that is horrifying.
What's her name? Martha.
Oh, she was the worst.
God,
man,
Scythe.
I'd take Christopher any day.
For sure.
You kind of missed the guy.
Rest in peace.
Oh.
Or pieces in his
Wait, did Christopher die? I forget.
Yeah, he gets blended by the wall rider.
Hot.
I
Yeah.
totally
He
forgot
lived a
about
good
that part.
He lived a good life.
He did
Out
live a
of-
good life.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, Travis, I'm kind of curious. What did you think about the whole wall rider thing?
The wall rider thing, I honestly, like, it was a neat concept, but when it came to the actual, like, execution of him, I wasn't too terrified of him. Like, I think I was more scared of the Doctor and Christopher than I actually was of the wall rider, even though he was, like, the most powerful of them all.
Okay, yeah, because that's kind of how I felt. Because I was gonna say, I feel like that whole game was really good and I loved it, except that I feel like the ending was kind of the weakest part. You know, that part where you're in that underground lab and the wall rider's chasing you. I never really felt worried or scared at that part, just because it felt so outlandish compared to the rest of the game. Where normally you're being chased by a person that's just deformed, but at this point now you're being chased by this weird like demon, I guess, that takes your
ghost-looking
soul.
thing.
Yeah, so I feel like that kind of threw me for a loop. Luckily, that was the last like 10 minutes of the game.
Right.
But I don't know. I was a bit iffy on that
Yeah,
part.
I also think because of, like, the environment that they were in, it was, like, this weird basement cave thing. Like, it didn't feel like a real place to you, whereas the rest of it was, like, a regular-looking building with...
Right.
Like,
But the building was also a lot darker. Like, it felt like a more dark environment. Like, the lab had a lot more blood and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, a lot of
places.
blood, and then because the sirens were going off, there was a lot more light.
but there was a
so-
lot more light. Yeah, so I felt like that was a more safe, almost environment.
That's true. And then at that point, you already saw Christopher die, so you're like, well, there's
Right.
really only one person left, you know?
That is actually a good point. Because, like, I know for me, if I see blood, like, especially since I'm in the frickin' nursing profession, I do not freak out about blood even a little bit.
Yeah.
So, if that's what they're going for, like, ooh, look how creepy and gory this is, like, you can show me a human heart pumping in my hand, and I'll be like, cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like, I don't get
Just
scared about that.
desensitized at this point. Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Do we want to move on? I feel like this is a good segue to graphics.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
what does everyone think the graphics were like in the first Outlast?
Well,
I guess I will say it wasn't like bad by any means. I mean, it conveyed the message that it was trying to get across. But I mean, I don't know when the game came out, but I know that it definitely didn't like blow me away graphics wise. Because I mean, at least from what I see when I look for graphics out of a game, I kind of try to see what the developers are going for, and some of them want that kind of hyper realistic graphics kind of style. And I mean, they did the job, but I mean, there's nothing that really like blew me away when I saw the game. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
I'll say I kind of graphically, I guess, but like speaking broader, I think I disagree. As far as the environment goes, I feel like this game did everything it possibly could to like convey the horror message. Whether it's like you have the staticky
I'm with
TV,
you for the environment.
you know, like in terms of like the whole ambience and the environment of the place, I feel like everything they nailed was perfect. And it's ironic because the reason they did it is because they pretty much used every cliche. You end up in the sewers, you're in an asylum, you have to turn on generators. I mean, it does everything that, you know,
went to the women's locker room.
Yeah. That's true terror. It opens the door for so many period jokes is what it does. But
I didn't make any of those.
Oh,
ever.
no, you didn't. You're a good boy, Travis. You would never. But that's what I loved about it is like it pretty much nailed all of those tropes, and it didn't feel cliched. I feel like the game was very self-aware of what it was. Like I feel like it knew that it was just being cliched, and I think that's what made it so fun. But just all the little things, like having the people crawling on the floor, with like the way they all looked super deformed and strange. From having the new Dingaling Bros. Just everything about it felt so weird and bizarre and disturbing that I think that's part of the reason you never really feel safe. It's all dark with these creepy looking people. Even if someone's friendly, you still feel uncomfortable with them in the room, you know? Because you're like, I still never really know.
What did you call them?
I did say that the environment was pretty well done. I like that.
Remember the dude who was always like turned around the corner and you'd be like, oh my god, and then you could like start calling him like the peekaboo guy or whatever.
Oh yeah. I remember who you're talking about. Yeah, and eventually I just like thought everybody was a villain, and I just thought like I was always being hunted in the place. So, but yeah, graphics wise, I thought the game was really well made. Actually, I mean it wasn't like crazy good, but the game came out in like 2013, I think. So, I mean, as far as, 5-6 years ago, I think it was pretty good.
Especially with a small developer like Red Barrels,
Exactly.
Like, they're not working with, like, some big AAA company. So, like, with what they had at their disposal, I feel like, yeah, it's a pretty beautiful game in a really ugly way.
Beautiful game in an ugly way. That also needs to be knitted. That needs to be knitted on the throw pillow as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know what 2013 is.
2013 was
when it came out.
Oh, it was? Okay. Yeah, pretty solid for 2013.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
because like what Mike was saying, when you just look at the game, you already can tell that it's going to be a horror game. Like you can look at any sort of like snapshot of any point of the game, and you would be like, this is definitely a spooky game. I
mean, when they wanted it to be like a dark, scary environment, that's exactly what it was. Like that, they did exactly what they wanted to do.
But that's the other thing too, is that like I know we've talked about it, Travis. We talked about it more with Outlast too, but I feel like it applies to this game. Like they'll use that thing where like they turn the lights off and you can't see anything anymore. But in a way, you kind of always know where to go. Like I always think of the sewers, like you're in a dark room that's just wide open with only one staircase, but you can always seem to find your way to the stairs, So it's not like unfair. And that's why like, in terms of graphics, I want to talk about more and be like level design also. The placement of everything and the enemies and the stairs and all the obstacles and stuff, I felt like it was pretty perfect because you always felt lost, but you always went the right way. And I feel like that's such genius design on their part.
Yeah, I feel like the only time I actually like had no idea where to go was when, because I know we struggled when we were streaming it to like jump to that one staircase, and then both of us also forgot to like jump to that staircase when we were racing.
Yeah.
But other than that, the rest of it guides you through where you're supposed to go perfectly, even though there's very minimal direction of where you're actually supposed to go.
Right.
I feel like you stumble onto a lot of it too, like as you're just walking or running away from people. You just stumble onto like batteries, fuses, kind of everything in the game.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of find like what you need. Yeah, definitely what you need as you go through the game. I mean, at least in my mind, it seemed like pretty straightforward on where you needed to go. Not really. It wasn't really confusing, I guess, in a way on or kind of convoluted. Like I feel like some horror games can kind of get to. So I mean, or like I don't know, like you know what I mean though, Mike, right? Like checking under like the third bed, having to talk.
Yeah,
to
like something like in Corpse
like
Party
wall,
where
like that.
it's like this big elaborate puzzle to try and advance the story.
Yeah, see, that's what I was gonna say that's what I hated about Amnesia, Travis, which I know is a game that you played a little bit. I feel like some of those puzzles are so like detailed and complicated. I'm glad that wasn't in this game.
Oh, definitely. Because if the puzzle takes too long to solve, you no longer feel that fear or anxiety about what's about to happen to me. You're just frustrated because you're like,
Exactly.
okay, I'm looking at this thing. I know I have to do something with this thing. What do I actually have to do?
Right.
And then you're not scared anymore. And then it's not even a horror game anymore. It's more of just, look how stupid I am.
But it's like CJ said.
Look how stupid I am.
But it's like CJ said too, and I think it just goes, gives credit to the developers, where like you enter a room and it's like turn these 2 valves, and you're like, well, I don't know where those 2 valves are, but like as soon as you see the enemy, you start running the other way, and you sort of just run into those things, Like you're running from Christopher, and you just so happen to like find the first valve just because you were running away from him. So I think that's like perfect because you're scared, you're helpless, you don't know where to go, but the game sort of pushes you in that direction. I think that's so smart of them.
Yeah, it was definitely a good play call by them. Greatly appreciated. And do we want to move on to the last section, which is the music?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I think the music is really good in this game because it always like... it feeds into your fear, and you're like, you know what? It's a little silent right now. What's about to happen? And then it'll just do it.
Travis, you're saying that your favorite part about the music is the lack of music? Is that what you're saying?
It's when you're in like the dark room, it'll have like really light music, and then when you like finally open the door, it'll get so much louder, give you a heart attack because of jump scares. But I feel like there weren't too many jump scares in the first one.
Yeah. Well, I think what the music has done a good job in Outlast is it really does a good job of conveying like the ambience of the actual area itself, and so you kind of like helps paint the picture in your head on where you're at. And it's one of those things that you can't really make, like, you can walk through a place like that, but let's face it, if you heard like the song like For He's a Jolly Good Fellow going on, you might be kind of like bobbing your head back and forth. No, like it does the job that it needs to do to give you that kind of sense of foreboding, the ominous feel as you're going from place to place, that makes you really want to question, like, should I really open this door, or like am I just gonna like kind of skip it and go to one that's already open so I don't have to like be surprised by it. I think it did a good job of kind of conveying the ambience of the scene itself, and I think that's what it did a good job of. It wasn't going for the kind of the upbeat feel or anything like that. It was more of I'm going to help paint the picture in your head and go from there, which I feel like it did very successfully.
Yeah, and let's be honest, there is nothing scarier than when you're walking down a corridor, you see nothing, and you hear that chase music start.
Oh my god!
Like, you have no idea where he's coming from. You just start running. But that's why I like songs like that.
Yeah.
And it was hard playing, like, first playthrough and trying to play it super sneaky and just getting that constantly and just running to the next locker, thinking you're safe. As soon as you step out the locker, the music cues again. I'm like, what the heck do I do?
Yeah, it's the worst.
Honestly, I feel like one of the best things that would be for a playthrough is if like you attached like a heart rate monitor to somebody's first time playing it, just to see how it changes with the game.
Oh yeah,
and that could also tell you how immersed they are in the game as well. That would be cool to see.
That's not a bad idea.
I immediately look over to my right to CJ, and he's just giving me the biggest no.
that with Outlast. Okay, that with Outlast 2, I think I'd break some records.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious.
Like you just see like supposed to be like the heart palpitations, like this isn't even physically possible. And, like you're just seeing CJ just like sitting with the controller, just like I'm not okay, guys, I'm not okay.
I think Markiplier actually did that when he played Outlast 2. I think he actually did have a heart rate monitor when he played it, and it was so funny.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
That's actually pretty solid. I mean,
because he's like, nope,
yeah,
I'm not
I'm
scared right now, and then his heart rate just races up. Nope, nothing.
That's funny.
And honestly, when you start hearing this the chase music when that happens, I want to see the effect that has on the heart rate, like immediately.
Just see the spike right away.
Correlate it to
even
like,
if it literally nothing actually
like
happened, if the music cues, you're just like, well, I'm screwed.
Well, my doctor said that I need to lower my blood pressure. Not today.
Yeah, we'll take a break
Starts
on
fucking
that.
like running down the hallway. Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like
no, that's
in some ways the music goes kind of beyond that too, because like yeah, we could talk about the scary stuff, but I think even just the little sound effects you have, like anytime you have a new objective, I don't know if it's just me, but like when you hear that little like ding and that pops up on the screen, like I feel such a sense of relief because I'm okay, good, I made progress. You know, so it's all those little things too, or like when you're
scratching down notes.
Yeah, stuff like that too. Like, just the little things like that gave me that relief. Like, okay, I'm doing something, I'm advancing. And then on the flip side of that too, when you're inside of a locker and you hear like the pounding of him like bashing the door down, you know, it's all those little sound effects are like perfect. Or like you said, when there's no music at all and you like just hear the footsteps, like for the sewer part when he's in the water, you just hear him start to treading.
Oh, I don't like that part. I don't like that part.
But it's so good because they do it so perfectly, you know, like you just hear the footsteps, there's no music. You know, I think that's what Travis's point was, like that lack of music sometimes is even better because then you just focus on the little sound effects. Yeah. And those are the things that really like get in your head.
Yeah, because you're focusing on the sound effects and then you're like, why isn't there music playing?
Right.
Something is about to happen.
Yeah.
And I have no idea when or where or how or who. And then you're asking why you're asking so many questions, and then the music cues up, and you're like, I liked it better when it was silent.
Right. Yeah, it's like a sequence.
I do say that I like the fact that the music's able to do that. It almost lets you like. It kind of almost lets the game play you, as metaphorical as it sounds, because like that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to kind of give you like the oh shit, what's gonna happen? Like I know what I would think is gonna happen, but is the game just trying to get me to think that, and it's gonna throw a thing out of left field and get my ass kicked or something. I love it when they're able to do that, and the fact that they're able to do that just through. Usually you have it through like a whole bunch of different kind of different cues and whatnot, but if you're only able to do that off of one sense, that's always really cool.
Yeah. No, I think...
And then you see how everything else reacts.
Yeah. What are you going to say, Mike?
I don't remember. I think I was just going to say that, because I think that sort of summarizes how I feel about the game, because I know, you know, some people, like Nick and CJ, don't really enjoy horror games as much, which I get, because some people just don't like getting afraid.
They're dumb.
But in terms of, like, the intelligence that goes into the design of this, like, I feel like some people just think, oh, you know, it's just dumb jump scares. But I feel like Outlast did so many little things right, like with the noise, or like we talked about, with the graphics and the environment. Like, I feel like a lot of thought goes into this stuff, you know, and I feel like that's why you get such a good environment, because it's not just the jump scares, you know? You feel uncomfortable the whole way through, and I think the design, both sound and graphically, that went into this game was, like, spot on.
Oh, I completely agree with you. Like, the design, like, people who always say that, like, oh, they just throw some crap together, like, when it comes to, like, a game like this, there's, like, you can't really do that. Otherwise, you're going to see a really not a good finished product, and it's going to be very easy to tell. But, like, you're able to tell, like, the reason why you're getting this feeling is because it's designed this way. It's supposed to try to get that reaction out of you. I can definitely appreciate it, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to go play a whole bunch of horror games, because it's not the kind of game that I personally prefer compared to the other ones that are out there. So it doesn't have to be the game that you play, but I mean, you can definitely still appreciate all like the little small things that Outlast did to separate itself from some of the other things that would make people think that horror games are just jump scares,
right?
Or just I'm gonna cut off your arm, something like that.
Well, because
I don't know a ton of horror games.
Because I was gonna say there's two types of horror games that I feel like are out there. There's the ones where you have a jump scare and you kind of just laugh at how stupid it is. And then there's games like Outlast where, especially on your first playthrough, you're probably not really laughing all that much, you know? Like, you're, like, legitimately afraid.
The other people in the room might be, but you're not.
Travis is laughing at you, but you're not laughing. But then there are some, like, tacky ones online that don't do this smart design, where, like, there's a jump scare, you don't scream, you're just like, dude, this is stupid.
Is it like Five Nights at Freddy's after the third night?
Right, stuff like that where it's like, all right, this is just getting repetitive and ridiculous.
Yeah.
Outlast doesn't feel that way to me, and that's why... You know, especially on like going through the whole first playthrough, I feel like it nails it perfectly. And Outlast 2, I've never played it a second time, but I feel like I'd be scared the second time because of the smarter AI and stuff.
Oh my gosh, the AI is so much smarter and so many more ways to kill you. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that'll be a fun thing when CJ inevitably streams it, right?
I think he's busy during that one time, every time when you suggest that.
That's funny.
But yeah.
Just saying, it's right over there.
If you ever need
I just have to mention it as Travis. Let's play some Borderlands instead. And,
right.
That's the way it is, huh?
Hey.
Okay.
If you ever need an excuse, CJ, I'll help you out. I'll help you out on that excuse.
Right, I appreciate it.
Thank
I
you.
would never
Yeah,
want
I
to
got you,
force a
Lydia.
game on you, but it would be really funny and awesome if you did.
Yeah. I'm not gonna like give you an ultimatum or anything, but otherwise, I'll never talk to you again. But yeah, no, but yeah. Anyway, I think we've. I think are we? Did we say what we had?
Yeah, we
What
got
were
all
into
4
about
topics.
Outlast?
I just want to do one more quick shout out to Outlast 2. The one song that they always repeat throughout that game
Oh yeah. What was
is it's "Oh, be careful, little
Yeah.
eyes, what you see."
it? Oh, it's so good.
Anyway, that song, the favorite band of mine has a song that they actually use those lyrics in. I have yet to be able to listen to that song and not immediately think of Outlast 2 and then become disturbed.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
like perfect. That's what I'm saying. That's what these games do to you, you know? Mm-hmm. Oh man, it's good.
Ugh, but because it's my favorite band, so I used to listen to the song a lot, and then after Outlast 2, and I'm like, I just can't.
Just ruins it. That's great.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah, little girls, they ruin everything.
Yeah, but I guess, then to summarize my final thoughts too, because that's exactly how that's what that game does perfectly, that little girl in that game. That's what Resident Evil 7 did too with their little girl, Evie. That's how
my
you
God.
scare people. Just use little girls, right? That's the
Girls
one
are
thing Outlast was
terrifying.
missing. No, but to summarize what I was going to say, that's, I've already said it over and over. The smart design that went into this game was perfect. I don't usually play horror games like this. I'm more of the Resident Evil side, where I like the psychological sort of like depressing, you're stuck in a hopeless situation. You have weapons and you can save yourself, but it's difficult. I've always been more a fan of that stuff, but Outlast was like my first entry into this type of horror, and I loved it. It was perfect. I was super afraid. It was really hard to play by myself, and I'm like Travis. I love watching other people play it now. Even though it doesn't scare me anymore, it's still fun watching other people get scared. And so it's the kind
I don't
of
know
game.
how many first plays I've watched, because, let's see, I know I've played it. I watched my older brother play it. I watched Scooter play it. I made CJ do it. I
We watched Matt do it, yeah.
it. I've watched PewDiePie and Markiplier both play it.
Eric did too, right? I think we watched
Yeah,
Eric.
Eric did. I've seen this game played by like probably 10 different individuals, and I've beaten it 4 or 5 times myself.
That's crazy. It's a testament to
I
how
love
good it
this
is.
game. I love this game.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm iffy. I can appreciate the design. I'm not gonna play it though.
That's totally
That's
cool.
just-
I totally get why you wouldn't like horror games. Because if you don't like that thrill, it's just bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Mike and I are thrill
Yeah.
seekers, so we love it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. I do understand like seeing other people play the game and already knowing how they're gonna react. I can understand watching it for that.
Yeah,
purpose as
watching
well.
first
But-
plays is
yeah.
just, it never gets old.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, either way, Travis, you wanna close this out?
Okay, so we would love to know what your thoughts are about Outlast, so please leave a comment. If you haven't done so already, please leave a like and subscribe. We always like, seeing those numbers go up. And if there's a game that you would like us to try and do a game breakdown of, please let us know down in the comments. We will try and play those games so then we can have an opinion on them. Because what we found out today is we are into very different games, so we very rarely actually have a lot of common.
Yeah, this is not as easy as we thought it would be.
No, because CJ, especially if he comes back again, is not much of a Nintendo person, and that's kind of the only thing that us three actually have in common.
As the Super Nintendudez.
Hey, we played Overcooked.
Exactly. But yeah,
Yeah. Oh well.
I think I covered everything, right?
Yep.
Thanks for joining us
Cool,
for
cool.
this lovely half hour, and we hope you have a nice day.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Adios.
Well,